So today we are doing the dreaded, if I could only keep X amount of palettes, these are the ones that I would keep. I typically try to avoid these types of videos because I don't want to put myself through this harsh reality. I think it's really difficult. Normally people say, these are the only 5 palettes that I want to keep in my collection. I've changed it to 10 because if I had to narrow it down to 5, I don't know if I honestly could do it. I'm not entirely sure if I picked the right palettes for today's video either, but I've kind of just looked at my drawers and I'm like, no, I want that one. Yes, I want that one. I want that one. And we're just going to go with it. We're going to wing it before I change my mind. So this is in no particular order as well, because I couldn't possibly do that. That's why I hate doing ranking videos with my eyeshadow palettes. I was doing them a lot and I honestly hated it because it was so difficult, and also I have a fickle mind, so I change my mind all the time. Anyway, let's get into the 10 eyeshadow palettes that if I had to get rid of everything, these are the ones that I would keep in my collection. And I'll try to say why. There might not be a reason, it just might be a feeling. Okay, so the first one is going to be my GlossGods The Color of Rain. I'm working on this in my project Level Up, and quite honestly, it has one of the prettiest shades that I've ever used in my collection, and I couldn't bear to say goodbye to it because of this one shade. So the shade I'm talking, there's actually 2 gorgeous shades. No, the shades in here are beautiful. Like, this is what the palette looks like. There are 2 outstanding shades. So the first one is Drizzling, which I just think this is the most delicious. I've showed this on my channel before, but this is the most absolutely out of this world, just gorgeous shade that I have the pleasure of putting on my eyes. The other one that I think is outstanding is Water Prism. The other shades are beautiful too, but there's just something about these 2. There's something about these 2. So this is what they look like. They are duochromes, so they look different depending on obviously how you look at them in the light. But I tell you, whenever I put these on my eyes, if I lay them next to another shadow, on top of another shadow, they change the look that I have, and for the better. And most of the time when I do use these shades, I get compliments. So I'm just going to put it out there. I think these are probably the prettiest shades in my collection. Now, I could just depop them and not save the whole palette, but the rest of the shades in here are really nice, and I do love GlossGods formula, and this one in particular is very, very good. So I think I would keep this one, quite honestly, because of those 2 shades. I wouldn't be able to say goodbye to it. So this one is staying. Next up, I couldn't bear myself not to keep this one, and it is my Glaminatrix Rich Romantic. I just love this palette so much. I know not everyone loved it because some of these, or a lot of these shimmers, flip green. So it's a rosy, purple, brown, rose quartz palette, but it has a lot of green to it, and you don't kind of realize that when you look at it. So I can understand that, but I love it. I love the shades in here too. I think they stand out the same way that in The Color of Rain, some of these just stand out and they're absolutely gorgeous. You can see the type of shade that I love. Oh my gosh, I just think they're like liquid metal, and I just there's just something about it. Again, these are duochromes, so depending on how you look at them, they can change how your eyes look. So I personally love this, and I think the quality is just outstanding. So I would not ever want to get rid of this, so I would absolutely save that in my collection too. I've also tried to bear in mind, I can't just save all neutral palettes. I need to have some color in my life, so I've tried to incorporate palettes that have a little bit of something so that when I look at them all together, I have what I need. So next up, we have the Delicious Delights from Cosmic Beauty. This is I would say the most rainbow-esque palette that I have in my collection. I am not a huge rainbow palette person. I didn't go out and collect them over the years. So this is the one that if I want some color, it has a lot of mattes and it has the shimmers that I would probably need as well. And the way it's laid out just makes a lot of sense. So this to me is more of, well, I want to make sure I have some color in my life, and this has like a whole row of blues and purples and has some green. So it just is, overall, it's a very good palette on itself, on its own, but also the quality is really fun, and I do love their formula. So this one I want to keep as well because it has some really interesting shades, like this really zesty green shade, and it has these gorgeous, much lighter iridescence, and then you have sort of a lilac periwinkle shade. I don't know, it just has shades that not every palette in my collection has. So I would also want to keep my Delicious Delights. I think I'm also gonna say that I would want to keep my Haunted Mansion from, this is the Welcome Foolish Mortals from ColourPop. It's not that it has like the best formula, but I like this palette so much. And it's just one that I feel like I could throw around, pop in my bag if I have to go traveling and have some cool tone shades. And I would really, really enjoy it. So this is definitely one that I would want to keep. It also adds something different to some of these other palettes that I'm keeping. There is a darkness to this one and a cool toneness to it that not all of these other palettes that I'm keeping would have. So it would add something to my collection if I had to narrow it down to just 10 palettes. So I think, yeah, this one definitely would want to keep. I think it would serve a purpose, and I love it enough to want to do that anyway. Another one that I would want to keep is the Galactic Visitor. I do think this is kind of underrated. I really do enjoy this palette, and this one is more for like, I want to keep it for these lighter, like summery tones, but then again, you can do some really gorgeous looks with the blues as well, and you have a depth to it. And I like her formula. I just think this is an overall really good palette, even though when you look at it, you're like, that looks so boring. But you can do some really gorgeous neutral looks with this. And you know what? I do like neutral looks. You wouldn't think it with some of the looks that I do, but I am a neutral girly at heart, and I do like colors here and there. So this one would be more practical for me to honestly keep in my collection as well. And I don't think there's any shade in here. I mean, I'm never gonna love teal. So there is a teal in here, but I don't think there's like, in terms of like the shimmers and everything, I don't think there's anything in here that I don't enjoy. So yeah, I would want to keep this one. She also has this really, I've always thought this Milky Way shade was really interesting. It's kind of dry, but it has pink shift to it, which I always thought was really cool. It's not just a typical gray silver. And I don't know if it comes up on camera, but there you can see there is a pink sheen to it, and so it just makes it kind of interesting. So it's not that her shades are not interesting. She actually put some thought into some of them. So yeah, I would want to keep this one. I do like that. And then I was going to keep all of my Avatar palettes from Lethal Cosmetics, but I thought, no, let me narrow it down. I'm just going to keep the two, because the fire one I was going to keep, but I thought, you know what? I don't wear that much red. Really, Gabby? No, I don't. And then also I was going to keep the blue one, but I have a bunch of blues in the Delicious Delights palette, and they're really nice blues. And even though the blues in the Walter palette from Lethal is gorgeous, like, don't make me bring it back. Don't make me bring it back. I'm going to stick to my guns. I don't need that much. So I've ended up just keeping the green one and obviously the air one, which is the earth one. So here is, no, this is the earth one. Here is the green one. Now the reason I would want to keep this one is because not many greens are in these palettes that I've spoken about so far. And this has all of these gorgeous grassy greens, which I actually really enjoy. And it has this really bright emerald green. And then it has this one, which looks green, but it has so much pink flecks to it. And then you have these gorgeous browns. I tell you what, do not underestimate these browns. You can do an absolutely gorgeous look in this palette, and it doesn't have to look green at all. I went into these browns and then this one, and it looked pinky brown, and it was delicious. It was like a chocolate dream. But I think that the quality in this is so beautiful, as they are in all of them. But I think because it has the greens that the Delicious Delights doesn't have, and quite honestly, the rest of the palettes that I'm picking, there might be like one green in one of them that has these, but this would give me the green fix that I would ever need if suddenly I want to do a green look. I have this palette and it would be perfect. Okay, and then obviously the other one is going to be my Air. You know it, I know it, I can't avoid it. I couldn't not keep this. I think it has some of my favorite shades in my whole collection in this one little 9-pan palette. It is absolutely stunning. Obviously, I've hit pan in a bunch because it was in my project level up. It was not a chore. I loved going into this palette all those months, and I'm kind of missing it. It was just so pretty, and all of these shimmers are absolutely stunning and gorgeous. I couldn't tell you which one I prefer, but you have this one down here, which is Yip Yip, and it's just gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning. Stunning. It's a little bit chunkier than what I've shown you so far. And then you have Moon Peach, which again is absolutely gorgeous. And they're very icy. They're very, you know, they give a little bit of a base, but otherwise they just flip very gray, ice, white, and they just lighten your eyes, I feel like, these shades. So you can't really go wrong. And that's why it's called the Air, because you know, it makes sense. Okay, I couldn't not pick my gal on Jupiter. This will give me the lovely, again, cool tone vibe that I'm going for, but also have all the browns that I would need. And it has these gorgeous shades that you would expect from GlossGods. And it has good mattes in here too. So if I'm gonna pick a palette to keep in my collection, I mean, look, this is like gunmetal too, if I ever needed a gunmetal. I don't need all these shades, but I would keep this palette to keep it. Like, look at this. If I ever wanted to do a cool tone look, I got it right here with the lovely brown mattes, and I'm making a mess. So let me just wipe all this off. But you know what I mean? Like, it just makes sense with the palettes that I have chosen so far. This was a no-brainer that I would want to keep this one too. And if I want to do a neutral look with a little bit of gorgeous sparkly stuff on top of it, I can go into this. And then if I just want to do a brown look, I could just go into this one and just call it a day. It is absolutely stunning, this palette. So it 100% works in my palette of 10, which is so small. Okay, and then these two are the first two that I grabbed, quite honestly, and I think they're no-brainers for me, even though I did I think it was 3 looks or 4 looks with this first one, the neutrals from Cosmic Beauty, and I wasn't particularly, I don't think I was super positive in that video, but if you want a warm tone, neutral look, this is the perfect palette for you. And I think I wasn't realizing that this is a very, very warm tone, but once you know that this is a warm tone palette and it's what you're going for, it is perfect. And the reason I would want to keep this in my collection, it has these mustards that I find very, very interesting. It has the warm tone neutrals, whereas the neutrals that I've saved so far lean more cool tone than anything, and so this would add that fiery warmth that I would probably want either in, you know, spring, summertime, you know, or when I'm just wanting to have a warm look. So this again would add something to my collection that I don't feel like any of these palettes have given me so far. So I think this was a no-brainer. And then of course the shades are stunning from Cosmic Beauty. It has the mustards, like I said, it even has like a khaki green. You can't really go wrong. So I think definitely would want to keep this one. And then lastly, I also would want to keep the Muse. Again, this is one where I wasn't overly positive about it when I first got it. I love the color story, but I found it dark. But on the days that I want a darky, sort of vampy vibe, I think this is perfect. This is not your typical spring palette. I think it's darker, but I like it. So this does have a lot of greens in it, but they're slightly different. Aside from probably these two, they're a little bit different to the greens from the Lethal. So I have plenty of greens that I am saving in my collection. And then it also has neutrals. It has these gorgeous purples and it has a pop of blue. It has mustard as well. I just think this would add a lot that I don't necessarily have in the palettes that I've already chosen so far. And they are shades that I could get a lot of wear out of. So I'm trying to be as smart about this as possible. You know, we all love our eyeshadow palettes, but I'm trying to be as smart as possible with the 10 that I would pick. I can't pick 10 all the same. So this makes sense for me to pick. And like I said, I don't wear that much color. You know, I'm just a big liar, but I really don't. So that's why not all of these are super, super colorful. So yeah, those are the 10 palettes that I would keep in my collection if I had to say goodbye to everything else. And obviously, as the years go by, this probably will change. So I don't know, in a year or two from now, they could be 10 completely different palettes. But a lot of these I've had for more than a year, and I can't imagine I would change my mind unless they just go bad, or you know, there might be one or two that I could swap out for other ones depending on how my collection changes. I'm not buying really that much at all at the moment, so I'm just really enjoying what I have. And if I only had these, I think I would be honestly really happy, which kind of tells you something. But you know, let's not tell the other 60 odd palettes in my collection about it, because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Anyway, that is the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!